We are joined today by painter Kathryn Stedham. She is participating in our upcoming Homage to Joseph Henry Sharp show here at Blue Rain Gallery. Every year we choose a Taos founding artist, a founding member of the Taos Society of Artists to pay homage to. This year it is Joseph Henry Sharp, and we have invited a number of our painters here at Blue Rain Gallery to choose a masterwork from Joseph Henry Sharp's career to use as inspiration for their own contemporary work, adapting and reinterpreting the original. So welcome, Kathryn.
Hi, well, I'm glad to be here. Good to see you, Denise.
I'm glad to have you. So your painting is titled Twilight Stoic, after Joseph Henry Sharp's painting titled The Stoic. This is a really powerful painting of Joseph Henry Sharp's work that you chose to use. Can you tell us a little bit about why you chose this painting?
Sure. It's really interesting that, I don't know, it may have been several decades ago, I'm not exactly sure, even before I moved to Santa Fe, that I was visiting the New Mexico Museum. And I would go through the permanent collection and look at various paintings. And there was this moment in the museum where I came around the corner and there was this large painting, and it just kind of was, it would just grip me and draw me in from the very beginning. There was just something about this painting, and I didn't really know much about who painted it, or where it came from, or any origins of the painting. It's just the painting itself was just so powerful, so captivating. I wanted to understand more about it, and over the decade or so, it never changed. I would even forget that the painting was there and come around the corner, and again, it would just kind of stop me. And when I started kind of going into it, I realized that, what was it about this painting? Well, of course, there's some really powerful imagery. A native man hunched over with these piercings in the back, and seeing the blood coming down, and then also the pony heads. This figure is dragging his favorite pony heads, as I was told. And I just kind of wanted to kind of understand what it was about. And not only did I want to understand like kind of the narrative content, I actually wanted to understand like how he constructed the painting. And I see that the background was this kind of pastoral kind of greens and purples and yellows. And I wanted to understand why this figure was kind of juxtaposed with this kind of landscape. And as a landscape painter myself, and actually a former figurative painter, I just wanted to understand what it was about. And it was kind of internal. It wasn't really an external dialogue at that point with myself. And then the opportunity came up with a gallery to pick a Joseph Henry Sharp painting to paint. And I really tried to paint something else. Like he does beautiful florals, oh my goodness. And he does beautiful figure work. He does all kinds of different subjects. And as much as I tried to maybe select something else, I kept being drawn back into this image. It was something about it was like, you must paint this painting. You must paint this painting. And I just gave in to the urge to paint this painting. And through the process, I really kind of wanted to, it gave me an opportunity to explore the painting in a way that I never would have just looking at it. I learned a ton working with this painting. And my interpretation of it is I took Sharp's figure and his pony heads, and in order to understand it, I placed it within my own context. And that is a landscape that I'm familiar with, that it's an actual location that I paint often with in plein air and with my plein air students.
Yeah, can you tell us a little bit about that location? I think I have a sense of where it is, but could you share with the audience?
Sure. So the location, it's near Ghost Ranch. In fact, it's on it's on Ghost Ranch property, or it's in the Ghost Ranch boundary area. And that is the Chama River that we see there. And if you know the monastery road going toward the monastery, the river is kind of on your left there. And I thought it was interesting because when I paint there, the one thing that I note is that I'm kind of on this cliff edge, on this precipice. And I looking at Joseph Henry Sharp's figure, I thought, I saw the figure as, wow, kind of ominous, it's about struggling. And I thought the bare feet on the rocks and feeling like he's literally on the edge of a cliff.
Yes, it's a slightly less forgiving landscape that you've placed him in than the one that Sharp originally placed him in.
Right. Yeah. And I think part of it is that always kind of concerned me about his painting. I was trying to understand, why was it so green, and why was it, because I think of it like, it's kind of metaphorical for me that that landscape is also dark, and that it kind of is like his internal struggle externalized, as a metaphor, in this way that would be dark, and it'd be kind of scary or something kind of ominous about it. When I look at his, I would kind of looking at it in a way that, like, wow, it's kind of picturesque. I could actually see something else in that landscape, but I came to realize that, his narrative is actually, the ceremony is a plains native. So this would be the plains area with the green and all of that and the trees. But I really enjoy the fact that the light in his painting is coming from the back. So it's coming from the left and kind of shining on his back. And then he's kind of walking toward this, you can see the light. So he is going from the darkness into the light, and it's kind of a really nice metaphor. So in mine, as it turned out with this landscape, is there's this remarkable river, and he's going upstream, as it were, and it's kind of like
Which sort of adds to the struggle.
Yes, and actually visually it does, because it kind of like snakes there, and then his hunching over into it kind of creates this fun tension in the landscape itself and the actual formal elements of the painting. But kind of metaphorically, he's headed toward the source of the river, to the source. And in my painting, what I didn't realize at the time, if you take a figure and you place it in another landscape, you have to do it in a convincing way. And for me, it was like, how do you contextualize this known landscape to the figure that you place in it to make it convincing? And one of the things I realized as I placed him there in the setting sun, and the sun sets to the west, so he's actually walking west. So in my painting, I actually had to change the whole orientation of the light, which I hadn't thought about previously until I started working with it, And so I didn't want him backlit exactly, but he'd almost be backlit or rimlit in mine, where the light, he's walking towards the literal light, which is actually setting at this point.
Well, you did a beautiful job. I mean, all of your choices, I think, were very effective. It should probably be pointed out that you are not a figurative painter. You are known mostly for your landscape paintings. So could you talk a little bit about that? What was the process like for you tackling figurative work when it's not something that you do every day?
Yes. It's interesting, because actually I started my career as a figurative painter, but of course my career expands, 3 decades. And I used to work with figures and live models and life drawing and life painting. And so for me, it was kind of coming for full circle. And when I was looking at doing this piece, I was like, what a welcomed opportunity, because people don't know me as a figurative artist. And so I got to kind of revisit my early beginnings as an artist, but also not just the figure, the man himself, but also the heads of the ponies, figurative element. And I've been looking for a chance to kind of reintegrate some figurative elements into my work and create these kind of, I don't know, they're kind of narrative. It completes the story. It's kind of like the figure activating the space, it's kind of like that relationship. So I really welcomed it. The challenge for me was I wasn't working from life, because I'm used to bringing a model in or working from a face, and that I was using Joseph Henry Sharp's figure, and the figures painting from another painting rather than painting from life is a little bit different. I did change my figure a bit. You notice his is a little maybe shorter in the waist. Mine is a little longer in the waist. There's some changes there that I just felt, for me, looked better in my particular context. But yeah, I really welcome the opportunity, and you'll probably maybe see more of some of my figurative work in the future. Hopefully, I really had an enjoyable time doing it.
Well, I look forward to that. And I'm so glad that that this process gave you an opportunity to tackle a painting that stood out to you so many years ago. Did you learn anything more about Joseph Henry Sharp in this process that you'd quickly like to share with the audience? We are running a little low on time now, but if you'd like to maybe end on sharing that last little bit of information with us, that'd be lovely.
Well, he was classically trained in Europe. And I really felt like, and especially in this painting, I could really feel his classical training coming through. And I also have a classical training.
Yes.
So, and also I think we both came from the East to the West.
Yes.
And our way of seeing is very different than a person that grew up maybe in the West. Our way of seeing the light, the way we kind of interpret the landscape is through this kind of Eastern eye. And I share that with all the Taos masters. They all came from the East and they were explorers. And I felt for myself, I was also here to explore and to learn. And I think he was a great student of seeing.
Well, that's a beautiful sentiment. Thank you so much, Kathryn. I appreciate your time, and we'll look forward to seeing you soon and including this painting called Twilight Stoic in the show.
Thank you, Denise. It was a pleasure.